Stewart here from Drone Film Guide, the channel where we learn to fly like filmmakers. Coming to you for this week's episode from the green screen in the studio, working on a little bit of premium content for dronefilmguide.com. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, stay tuned. Big news coming soon and all that kind of stuff. What is my favourite intelligent flight mode? Well, I went out for a bit of a walk in the hills and I wanted to capture it from the drone. I don't tend to use intelligent flight modes that much because I like to have full manual control of the composition and I don't like to hand that over to the drone, helpful though they can be. But when you're filming yourself, they can be very, very useful. So my new favourite intelligent flight mode is Active Track Spotlight mode. Now, I know you've all heard of Active Track, that's old news, it came out ages ago. But see when you click on Active Track and it says Profile, Trace, Spotlight. If you're like me, you might not have made it all the way over to the Spotlight one. If you know anything about Spotlight mode, essentially it turns the camera into this massive tripod. So you've got this camera on your drone at the top of a massive pole, and essentially the camera then acts like a spotlight. It literally just kind of traces the subject that you select, follows it around the screen. I've never really played around with it that much because it doesn't sound that exciting compared with the other Active Track options where they follow you when you're running and they go spinning around you and do all these kind of huge circles. Spotlight, camera at the top of a pole just kind of following you around. Sounds a bit boring. Let me explain to you now why it's so amazing and it is now my new favourite intelligent flight mode. When you're creating cinematic drone footage, using motion effectively is one of the 5 building blocks for doing just that. Motion for the sake of motion is fine, it's used all the time in car shows, in music videos, all that kind of stuff, drone screaming about, it looks great, it looks amazing, but when we're creating storytelling shots, if you can use that motion to enhance your story, that's really helpful. So when you rotate a camera around, you reveal new parts of the scene, you're creating some suspense because the eye is travelling through the frame, you want to see where that shot is going. You might be creating some depth because you're revealing new layers in that composition, foreground, midground and background. So this is the goal here, and Active Track Spotlight is great in that respect. One of my favourite shots there with Active Track Spotlight was to start off with the drone in front of me and off to the side, pointed back at me. Draw the little box on the screen, tap go, that locks the camera's attention firmly on you. As you're walking forwards then, the camera is rotating and tilting to keep you in the centre of the frame. Now coming back to this notion of adding value and telling a story with your shots, that rotation movement tells the viewer where you're going. You're watching me walk, you want to see where I'm going. Eventually the camera rotates round and reveals the place to which I am headed. It's an interesting, suspenseful storytelling shot and it's very, very deliberate. So that was a really simple but still effective shot, and if you've seen us discuss Hollywood examples of aerial cinematography, normally those shots are really simple as well, but they're deliberate and they're planned. Now this is where it gets really cool with Active Track Spotlight. You can input some manual control as well. So if you didn't want the drone just sitting there kind of tracing the subject with a yaw move and a gimbal tilt, you can have it slide from side to side as well, so you can get some really great composite moves. When I was testing it myself, I was walking around with the controller at my side trying to keep it out of sight, pushing forwards on the right stick or left and right, and I got some great shots, reminiscent of course lock or tap fly free mode, but with the added benefit of the software tracking the subject. I like to be in manual control of the drone. I like to know that if I take my finger off the stick, the drone is going to stop moving. Our Phantom 4 nearly knocked Alina off a cliff in Active Track. I don't know why, it was ridiculous. I've never basically used it since and lost all faith in Active Track because of that. This Active Track Spotlight mode, on the other hand, the drone is just designed to sit there in the sky. So yes, you can put in some manual control, but as soon as you let go of that stick, it's going to stop. Much as Active Track is great for filming yourself, and in many respects that might be what it's designed for, this Spotlight mode is going to be so good for filming other people. It's quick to get into, you just draw a box around them, it locks on, and you're good to go. And you're standing, you can put in that manual control and get those composite moves safely. I also found the camera's ability to lock onto the subject more reliable in Spotlight mode than in the other modes. Much as DJI claims that Active Track 2.0 can follow subjects even when they go out of the shot, that's just not what I've found in my experience. By comparison, this Spotlight mode I was very impressed. I was able to just walk around and the camera would just trace me, even when I wasn't necessarily wearing high contrast clothes that made it very visible that I was in that shot. So I was very impressed in that respect. I'm looking forward to experimenting with Active Track Spotlight mode. I'll try it out at some weddings that are coming up, see if it is nice and quick and easy to use in a high pressure situation, check that it is reliable, see that I can add some value by putting in some extra drone movement to complement that camera movement that's taking place. I think it's going to be really quite good. I used to get good results with course lock, but it's quite time consuming to set up and you don't really have much time at the likes of a wedding. Point of interest, far too time consuming, and also before you know it, you've swung the camera around and you pointed at yourself and you're trying to reverse and all that kind of stuff. That's why I like to have manual control. I don't like to lock subjects in the center of a frame as well. I like to see where they're going. I like to give them some looking space. I don't like to be 5 meters up in the air like you have to be with active track to set it. So at the very start, you're pointed down at the ground. That's not interesting. I want to be low, looking where the people are looking. I found that Spotlight does away with a lot of those concerns, so I'm going to give it a good shot. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents worth. I thought you might be interested in my experience. I felt like I was learning something there at the weekend walking in the hills, so I wanted to share it with you. I'm not saying it's the only intelligent flight mode. I'm not saying that the other active track modes are bad or anything like that. It's not a competition to name your favourite intelligent flight mode. I'm just sharing my experience. So share your experiences in the comments below, please. Always interested to hear what you have to say. We have nice discussion and exchange of ideas down there. It's turned into quite a good community here on Drone Film Guide. As always, don't forget to check out our premium content, Drone Cinematography Masterclass, our drone film grade LUT packs. Check us out on Instagram, blah, 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 blah. And we will see you next time on Drone Film Guide.